Nostalgia Street invites you on a retro ride that's more than just a trip down memory lane.
Uncover life lessons and personal growth stories that stem from our collective past.
So you can live a richer, more connected life today.
Whether you're a 90s kid, an 80s teen, or simply young at heart, you'll find something to relate to in each episode.
Now, here are your hosts, Vince and Jeff. Well, welcome back to another edition of Nostalgia Street, where we share the stories that shape us. I always get that wrong. With me is my co-host and partner in life, Mr. Vince. We're kind of married.
When you own a business together, you're basically married.
Yeah,
so there's a legally binding agreement. There's a legally binding agreement.
All right. So for those of you who are listening to the audio, we always like to tease you. The video version, you'll be able to see who's with us today. But on the audio side, we're going to tease you a little bit. Her first name is Sadie. And before we fully introduce her, we always go to my good friend, Mr. Vince, with the hardest question of the day.
Well, first off, if you are listening to this and you want to watch the video version, you can find us on YouTube at Forefront Studios. But our guest today, Miss Sadie Swier, we know...
You were supposed to say that.
Oh, okay. Shoot. We can redact...
It's just great.
Can you bleep that?
Oh, well, cat's out of the bag.
Okay. Well, our guest today is an avid volleyball player. We know that. If you had to draft your own volleyball team, but you could only pick Disney villains, which four do you pick?
Jeez.
Great question. Okay, right off the top of my head, we're going to go with the villain in Mulan. I can't remember his name, but he's going to be a great front.
The big Hun guy?
Yep, the Hun. And then probably Ursula. She's going to come out of the sea. I think all those tentacles will be great in the back row.
Yes.
And then let's think of some other Disney villains.
I think of a tall one that starts with J.
Oh, Jafar.
Yes,
Ooh,
yes.
Thank you. He's definitely going to be in the front. I need a setter though.
Yeah, who's your libero?
Who's going to be a good setter? Probably more Disney villains.
Yzma?
Who? She'd be in the front, right next to Jafar. And then we got the Hun, and then we have Ursula in the back. Then we have, what's a little one? The snake from the Jungle Book. And then me.
That's a pretty frightening all-star team you got there.
All right. We'll see if we can edit in all those pictures. That'd be
Yes.
Maybe we could do that mid-journey and then break some copyright laws or something like that.
Sadie's Disney villain volleyball team. What would you name your team?
Well, the name that we had initially for our volleyball team that we've had for about 4 years is How I Set Your Mother.
It's pretty good.
I tell you what, if you
That's
ever
good.
need some entertainment, go to the city or sand volleyball leagues and just check out some of the names. People get pretty creative.
It sounds like a bowling.
So-
a good bowling.
We
game,
should
too.
sponsor a team, Jeff. Call it Four Frontal.
Whoa. Okay, it's not a kid's show.
And then
especially not now.
now, actually, our team is named after a burger battle burger.
Oh, interesting.
So we're the Fat Randys. So if you remember
My
about 2
Lord.
years ago, there was a burger called the Fat Randy. And there was one of our team members who loved it so much
Couldn't let it go.
that she wouldn't let it go.
Jeez.
And so we just kept talking about Fat Randys. And if somebody has a really good serve or a really good spike, we were like, oh, yeah, that had a lot of gravy on it. That's a good one.
Oh, gosh.
All right, well, we're going to get into Sadie's story in a second. But first off, we want to do a quick shout out to Forefront Studios. We're in this spacious studio. Vince and I have been here since the last week of September. And this episode will come out, I think, the first part of December. But anyway, at Forefront Studios, we help customers accelerate their success through video marketing. And we've actually had Miss Sadie on a couple of pieces there. We're going to talk about that in a second. But if you are looking for some great video content, look no further than Forefront Studios. And with that, we're going to shut up and get back to our special guest today. Vince already let the cat out of the bag, but that's okay. She's hard not to talk about. This is Sadie Swier, and your official title is Executive Director for the SDCEO
East.
Women's Center.
Business Center.
Business Center.
So we have the full name because remember when I came and first did a video with you, I go, what's the full name of this? But now I got it. Ready? South Dakota Center for Enterprise Opportunity East Women's Business Center.
Boom.
Shortened to SDCEO East Women's Business Center, which takes about the same time.
And
but we love it.
Can you say
We're doing good stuff.
Can you say it in Spanish because of
Not
Angela?
yet. Oh,
you should.
Dakota del Sur.
Centro de
Negocios
y
Mujeres. Okay.
Oportunidad. I'm trying now.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know what word you'd use for women.
We should ask Angie.
Yeah, we should probably.
My team member who is trilingual.
Nostalgia Street is not a bilingual show yet. Just disclaimer: any words or languages we may attempt on this show, it is no offense intended.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. No offense. But let's offend Sadie a little bit with a couple of questions. Sadie. Offend her? No, that's not why she's here. All right, Sadie. So we kind of go a little bit chronological with some of our questions. So tell us a story. Take us back in time. What did Sadie Swier look like? Let's start maybe when you were like 6 or 7. What were some of those Christmas dreams that popped up in your head? Things that you wanted, you were hopeful that you were going to get for Christmas.
Okay, well, let's all close our eyes. Maybe if you're driving, keep them open. But if you imagine this small, blue-eyed, huge-eyed, and then bright blonde hair. And when I say bright, it was almost reflective. I was white-haired.
Wow.
And from what I know or from what I remember, I talked all the time. So I was one of those kids who did well in school, but I would get in trouble because I was either talking too much or I was I got the answer, raising my hand, things like that. So
you were like that even back then.
Things make sense now.
Yeah. So I didn't have a chance. But I would say, thinking about Christmas, I was a big Barbie girl. So this was a big year for me.
Right.
But I loved a good Barbie car or a Barbie house. And I was also in the generation of my grandma had all the holiday Barbies, and I would just beg her to let me play.
There's holiday Barbies.
Holiday Barbies. Do we not know of holiday Barbies?
No.
Ooh.
Those are fighting words.
No, that's okay. I don't even know exactly how it started, but probably since the 80s.
Yeah.
Barbie releases a holiday Barbie that's in this beautiful box, and it usually has this gorgeous, huge gown. And I bet a bunch of ladies out there know exactly what I'm talking about, but that was part of my holiday dreams.
Why we don't know.
Did you have a favorite holiday Barbie then?
I absolutely did, and it was the one that I was able to open up. 2001 Barbie, blue velvet dress.
Ooh.
Played with it forever. So
sounds like money.
Those are my yeah, well, I think that's why people kept them to collect them. And I don't know if anybody's made some money out there on it. Can you let us know? Because Grandma Rayfeld still has her Barbies. She still won't let me open them.
We'll have to find out
what's inheritance.
What is the actual value of a 2001 Barbie, and we'll put
I opened it. Yeah,
we'll put that on the in the video.
My childhood memories playing with that Barbie were worth it.
What would you do with her, for example?
Well, I mean,
let's keep it clean.
I had a lot of.
Did you have a weird Barbie?
I had a lot of
freaky Barbie.
Yeah, where the hair's all cut and there's crayons on it, and
not necessarily. I took pretty good care of mine.
Okay.
But usually it was some reenactments of different scenes from movies. One of my favorite movies as a kid was
getting good.
Here we go, Austin Powers, but specifically the third one. So
was that Goldmember?
Yes.
Wait.
So I had a Foxy Cleopatra Barbie, and I would say,
how old is Sadie playing with Foxy Barbie?
What?
How old is Sadie playing with Foxy Cleopatra Barbie?
I had way too much access.
What year was this?
I had way too much unsupervised access to TV growing up. So yeah.
Too much cable TV.
Oh
HBO.
yeah, rotted my brain.
Yep. So
with
did you
rotted your brain
with that Austin Powers movie?
Yeah, baby.
Did you put something on with the remote and look around, make sure mom and dad weren't around?
Oh heck yeah.
What was the worst that you ever saw?
I think I was watching. You want to know one show that I loved? when I was way too young.
Yes.
CSI Las Vegas.
Oh, that's not that bad, is it?
Well, I mean,
I guess for a
and
child.
seeing all the murder and
Yeah.
some of the themes of CSI Las Vegas.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Was there anything you ever wish you could have unseen?
I wish I would have not watched VHS 1's Flavor of Love in like the 4th grade. I wish I could unsee that.
I still
looking back, I did not need to watch Flavor of Love. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. So you're gonna have to go into detail here.
This.
I'm just laughing as you're laughing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's hear more.
Okay. All right. You know, the Bachelor, Bachelorette shows the grip on society.
Yeah.
Those shows have.
Yeah.
And you could argue that it's, normal people who do it. But VHS 1 took that form and had celebrities do it. So it all kicked off with Flavor Flav. And I had no idea who it was until I watched this show. But he's a rapper from the 90s. He has a big clock on his... always wears a big clock. So anyways, he was the bachelor. And then there was just like 20, 30 women. And it was reality TV, just
4th grade Sadie.
amazing.
How would you rate
But I didn't need to watch it in 4th grade. That's what I will
How would
say.
you rate these women?
I mean, looking back, well, it's a show, so
Did you
they had
imitate?
certain characters, but they all had nicknames. So it was like
that's right. That's
New
right.
York, Pumpkin, other stuff.
Did he give them that nickname, or did they have their own nicknames?
He gave them the nicknames.
Okay.
Yep. But then it just had a ton of spinoffs. I would be open if we wanted to go back and watch them today. I would do that.
I wish we had a
So we'll
screen to
watch
pull up.
Christmas in Everdeen and then a Flavor of Love show, Vince.
Did you bring any
Christmas
of
in Everdeen.
did you bring any of that to the playground then? Is that why you're saying you wish you could unsee that?
No, I didn't. But when I was in 4th grade, I was definitely obsessed with Tetherball. I was the Tetherball
really?
champion
Wow.
in 4th grade.
Now, would you hit it,
The
or would
year-
you grab the rope and sling it?
Oh, no. The rule was no rope. It was all ball.
All right.
But I kind of devised this one thing where I kind of would almost
Cheat.
cup it a little bit instead of just hit it. So I'd kind of cup it, but that was pretty good.
Were you taller than other kids?
I matured faster than everybody in my grade.
Really?
Yes. So
Interesting.
there was a period, probably 3rd, 4th, 5th grade where I was not only taller than all the girls, but I was taller than all the boys. So that was
Wow.
and bigger. So I matured before everybody, and that was its own experience.
So what grade was this again?
It was probably 4th, 5th grade was when I was taller. I was one of the tallest people in my class.
Yep. I had Teresa. I won't say her last name because I don't want to embarrass her. Teresa N. In the 5th grade, she was the tallest of all the boys and the girls.
Yep.
And she matured faster.
Yes. And so how big was your class? Your big
We had
or your
two,
grade?
We had 2 different grades, or we had like 2 5th grade, 2 of everything.
Sure.
So there were about 50 kids total between our 2 classes.
Where did you grow up?
Columbia, Missouri.
Okay, got it. And I grew up in Hartford, right outside of Sioux Falls.
Okay.
And my grade was 100 people.
Oh, okay. Jeez, that's
I
a
was
lot.
taller than everybody.
That's a lot of 5th graders.
So were you
Yeah.
Or 4th graders.
were you
Wow.
always like first pick for kickball then or something like that? Or you seem like you're very sportsy.
Yes. Yeah, I was pretty active. I was pretty between Tetherball and then during recess during that time, Foursquare. Did you ever play Foursquare?
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty
Invent all
good at that.
There was a little cheat code that I figured out playing Foursquare.
There's a cheat
Okay.
code for Foursquare?
Because, well,
There
you
used to be a bunch of rules.
You go
I can't
really
really remember
close
them.
to the front. It's almost like, what's that new game where there's like this...
Pickleball?
No, it's not
Oh, okay.
that. But there's like a round net and people throw a ball into it.
Ooh.
What's that called?
Wait, round net?
I know what you're talking about. Slam ball.
Yeah.
Slam
no,
ball.
it's not slam ball. But
Is
maybe,
it?
I don't know. Anyway, it's the
Okay.
same kind of thing.
I'm confused.
But like with
We have so
Foursquare,
much
though,
to catch you up
you just
on.
hit the ball at an angle and there's no way that anybody could get to it. It's physically impossible. So that was the cheat code for playing Foursquare.
Do we need to bring you to a playground, Vince?
I mean,
we're going to teach you some games.
Some games.
So, wow, we went from Christmas to Barbies.
I mean, hand-eye coordination is not my thing.
I forget where we got. What? It's not?
No, I can't do any games or anything that involving like balls coming at me. It just doesn't work out very well.
Okay.
I tried out for football when football camp. I think Jeff, you'll laugh. I caught like 5 out of 27 passes.
Wow. In high school?
Yeah. And then the coach was like, saw me wearing a cross country shirt and was like, maybe you should do that, son.
And then patted you on the back. Yeah. You got it, son.
It's okay, son. We need a water boy. So I've always been fascinated with you about this, and it sounds like you just told us like it kind of started at this young age, like this confidence that you've got. It seems like you
swagger
probably go into a lion's den or Satan's den and make buddies with somebody. You have this confidence, and it sounds like you said just a few minutes ago that you were just very vocal as a youngster. Where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, I do want to share just a couple examples. I always joke around. It's just I didn't get enough attention as a kid, but I definitely got a lot of attention. In our house, we had part of our stairs and it overlooked one of the rooms in our house, like the little living room area.
Yeah.
And my friends and I would put on shows.
I could totally
and
see
so
that.
we would sing. And then one of my favorite things ever, I remember, was doing the Christmas pageants at our church, because I was like, yes, one of the plays, and I loved singing and I loved the acting. And when I got snubbed in 6th grade for the middle school play, I thought, I'm done. And that's when I got into oral interp. And so I think I just have always enjoyed parts of that where you get in front of people and you get to talk and express. And I think that's always been a part of it. But I've always been drawn to people and making connections. And, I don't know if you've seen, even with yourselves, some of the things you enjoyed as a kid, and now you take those like personality tests or personality quizzes. One of my core values is inclusivity. So I'm like, oh, okay. That's why, when I was on a sports team, sometimes I'm like, as long as the team's all getting together, or we're all getting along, sometimes it doesn't matter if we win or not, or I hope more people are getting along. But I think looking back, that's something that I just always enjoyed. But I will say my parents taught me a lot about confidence, in the sense of when I'd talk about being nervous about something, because I like doing it, but I would still get the knee shakes and the cold sweats. They'd say, if you're nervous about something, that means you care. And they always pushed me to do things outside of my comfort zone. Okay. And they always gave me a good perspective on those types of things.
So is there any advice that you give for people that are listening to this and they need that little dose of confidence? Is there a little trick or tip that you used or that you do use?
Oh, sure. Oh, I love this question. And I will say, even middle school, high school girl, I would never go back to that. And
tough
my
times.
confidence. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I was still doing things, but I definitely had very high standards of perfection, or doing it the best that I absolutely could, instead of having grace for myself. And I'm learning that. But specifically confidence, one thing that has changed my life is positive affirmations. So even just a couple words on a sticky note in front of your mirror, and feeling weird or silly about it, but saying it every single morning. Yeah. I'm smart, I'm worthy, I am blessed. And the last one, I'm not going to say it, but, or the full thing, but I'm damn sexy. I am the CEO of my own bleep life. Yeah. So just even saying a couple things and then growing on that, it has truly just shifted my brain to believe in myself.
100%.
Ooh, yeah.
Freshman year of college, my residence director, he was a really cool dude. Shout out to Dominic Rollins. He told us first week of school, I want all you guys take a sticky note, write on your mirror, write, I am effing awesome. Say it every morning to yourself.
Yes.
And it works.
Yes.
The mind is a crazy device that we were talking about in the last episode. There's different quotes from different people, but the one I used was Bruce Lee, who would say, don't talk negative about yourself, because even that can trigger your brain into thinking different thoughts it shouldn't.
Yes. Yep. And I have to be, I look back and I learned about affirmations when I was 24. I'm 28 now. But I felt so lucky to learn that at a younger age. And also I thought about it too. And I'm like, why didn't I learn this in middle school or high school when I was so hard on myself?
Right.
Oh man, I never want to go back to middle school. I loved my childhood. It was great.
Yeah.
But I think I always knew that I was like, this isn't the best. I was like, life's going to get better. Did you ever have that?
Peer pressure?
No, not necessarily, but I'm like, maybe some people thought high school was the best years of their lives.
Yeah.
But even as I was going through it, I'm like, this isn't going to be the best.
Yeah.
This isn't the peak.
Was it the school part or the socialization part?
Maybe a little bit of both. Because I think some of the content and classes and things that I did on that end, I mean, I liked it, but I was excited to get more into things I was more interested in. And on the social side too.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small community where I knew all these people from kindergarten to high school.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty excited about
moving on,
meeting some new people and having some closer friends. But I have a couple high school friends, one in particular that I'm still in contact with. But other than that,
moving on.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. So did you have anything in your formative years that was a bit of a challenge for you that made you kind of think a little bit deeper and maybe had to shift some things around in your head?
Sure. I would say just the pressure that I put on myself with school, and then the school part, and then as well as just on the personal life. The pressure I had put on myself, I'll never forget, we had a school assembly in 8th grade, and we had somebody, I think it was our principal, who made a comment and said, college admissions are starting to look at 8th grade transcripts.
Whoa.
And for some reason, that just jolted my brain into like, oh my gosh, college. I got to really focus on doing the best I can and getting all these things, perfect. And so I tried to take as many AP classes. Did you ever take any of those? Or some of them had the dual credit. Then there was the AP.
Yeah.
I took 4 AP classes. And then that's the one where you take the college exam to get the college credits. I failed every single one.
Oh.
I failed every one. And I thought I was like so screwed. Or I was really not going to be successful in college.
Yeah.
And I did just fine. I was just fine. So I put a lot of pressure on myself there. And then I would say on a personal note, I had 2 amazing parents. They're incredible. But they started showing signs of being separated.
Yeah.
But never really talked to my younger brother and I about it. So I noticed things, and we would still do things as a family and things were good.
Yeah.
But there was noticeable just different moments, and it did weigh on me a little bit just because I'm like, nobody's really talking about it. But then when my younger brother and I got to college and we were more settled in that stage, they did come to us and say, hey, we're separated, we're getting a divorce. And then it was a little like, oh, okay. All those things that I noticed,
Now it
makes sense.
It's making sense.
How old were you when you first noticed the separated?
12.
12 years old. So they stayed together more or less, at least in the household, until you got to college.
Yep.
Wow.
So from 7th grade.
Wow.
And that was me in 7th grade because they stayed when even my younger brother got to college. So so it means a lot.
There's something commendable about that. Because I'm divorced, and I know, I always said, kids, I think, are the biggest victims of divorce, because we pick up the traits. I mean, my parents stayed together until my dad died recently. And there's something about that security that you look for in your parents. And so when there's that separation, as far as like even outside the house, that's probably where it really kind of digs in there. But I say hats off to your parents for taking the dedication, the commitment for the sake of the kids. It sounds like for sure to stay together, but that still is really tough on kids.
Yeah. And there was no doubt in our mind whatsoever. They were completely and utterly dedicated to us as kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave us so much opportunity. They wanted to see us be involved in things. They wanted us to get to do a lot of things they didn't get to do because they came from similar, had to work extremely hard to get where they're at today. And so I always tell my parents, like, thank you for everything. I'm so grateful because we tried to take everything you gave us and make the most of it. And I'm really proud. I think we have.
Yeah.
But I did notice things with my parents. And then now looking back, I think, okay, I'm so happy that they did this and they have a better relationship now. Like, for example, my mom's retired in snowbirds in Florida.
Nice.
So my dad drove my mom down to Florida.
Wow.
From South Dakota, like last week. And he just flew back.
Huh.
So they still do stuff like that.
Yeah. And they're both still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
And we still do family dinners, and my mom, she'll still come over for family Christmases of the Swier side, and my dad still works with all the people on my mom's side. So it's like our families are still very connected and close, but ultimately that's what means the most to us.
Did they argue much while they stayed together? Or was it?
I can't remember a lot of big things.
Yeah.
But it just was very noticeable about they lived very independent lives from each other.
Sure.
Very different interests, didn't do things together.
Yeah.
So that was what came to me. And then I would say, they were great coming together for our activities and doing stuff, but kids notice that.
Sure.
Kids notice that.
Yeah. And I don't mean to pry on the argument side of it. Sometimes it's best, I think, in a given situation where you just get away for the sake of compromising yourself. When you're arguing too much with somebody else, it's best to just call it. But if you can stay together for the sake of the kids like your parents do, that's
really commendable.
All respect.
For years.
All respect.
And don't get me wrong, today I definitely, they'll still get a little into it with each other, and I'm still like, oh, I'm glad you're divorced. But they are incredible parents, and they, again, I think are a really good example of, or at least a takeaway or learning lesson I have is, they put so much into the kids, which I look back and I'm like, I know they were 100% about us.
Yeah.
But that put their marriage on the back burner.
Yeah.
And as a person right now who's engaged, getting married, I think about that with my ex-boyfriend, but about marriage and having kids and what the dynamics look like for that. So bringing it back to what our discussion is about formative years and big things that happen to me. I mean, that is a learning lesson that
Yeah, absolutely.
So
trying to apply.
Speaking of your ex-boyfriend, the nice one.
Okay, you got to clarify what you mean by that.
I have the joke now. Yeah.
So I always refer to Sadie's fiance as her ex-boyfriend because technically he is her ex-boyfriend.
My former boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
the last ex-boyfriend. We hope.
That's true.
It will be. It better be.
He gave Jeff and I license this morning to give you all trouble. So
All right.
we would like to know, young Sadie, what did she get in trouble for?
Okay, what did I get in trouble for? All right, here we go. One time, here we go. What comes up first is
Were you
we
in band camp?
actually do have a funny story about that. Okay, here we go. Two stories I got in trouble for are both related because we lived right next to a golf course area. And so there was one time where us couple kids, and we were probably like 5, 7, 8, 9, and we were running around on the green, which is where people putt, which is the shortest grass on the golf course, which means it's the most delicate of areas. And we were running around on it, and we took the flagpole and we were hitting each other with it. So I got a very stern talking to.
Wow.
And then the other part was the golf course also had some awesome hills to sled down in the wintertime. So we were sledding, and we got a little talking to as well, because there's some areas that were covered in grass, some not. And so those two. And then a quick marching band story. So I did grow up. Do you want to guess what instrument I played? Started playing in 5th grade.
Say flute or
No.
piccolo. No?
Trombone.
Yes.
You were a tromboner?
I was the only girl. I was.
I don't think you say it like that. It's tromboner.
I was the only girl outside of the clarinets and flutes.
He loves this.
Sorry. We got to look that up. Do you call it a tromboner?
Viewers, you let us know if it's tromboner or whatever else you call it.
I think in middle school it would have been called a
I think it's a trombone. Isn't it a trombonist? Tromboner. I don't know this.
Boner or bonus. I guess either way.
Okay. So
I don't
you're
even
playing
know. Is that
trombone.
bad? So I played that from 5th to freshman year. Then I took a little hiatus. And then junior year, I had a big crush on the band major of our marching band.
Ooh, what was his name?
His name was Isaac, and I will not say his last name for privacy reasons, but he was great. He was Isaac. And I had a big fat crush on him. So to get the guy, I joined the marching band. So I volunteered, but I didn't play my instrument. I held one of the flags. So I still got up at like 6 a.m. to go march with the marching band and like to practice. Yeah. But I did get the guy. He was my first high school boyfriend. Ooh, and he was great. He was a awesome first boyfriend. But you don't hear a lot. I don't think you hear a lot of people who join the band to get the guy.
That's true. That's true.
You were like a roadie.
I was actually, yeah. And I would ride to like the marching band competitions, and those things are intense, but really fun.
So what was so attractive about Isaac?
Oh man,
dreamy blue eyes. Or
by the way, I do love my ex-boyfriend now and my fiance. Isaac was just so fun and so nice, and we had Spanish class together, and he was hilarious and nice smile, and yeah.
There we go.
So you never had
good at music. And
so you never had to steal anyone else's boyfriend?
I did not. No, I heard about another podcaster stealing boyfriends.
We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Did anybody steal a boyfriend from you? Like how did you and Isaac break up?
We parted ways when I went to college.
Parted ways. Isn't that a song by Journey?
Yeah,
Separate Ways.
Yeah, Separate Ways, Tron.
I'm gonna start crying.
Ooh.
Did you both know that you wanted to stay in state when you guys were moving on from high school?
Ooh.
As a high schooler, I was a little nervous about, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I pretty much knew I was going to go to a state school. I was super excited about USD, but I did do one other tour of Isaac's college up in Concordia, which is up in North Dakota. And we were together at that point. But I pretty much knew it was USD. I think at USD, I definitely got a little chip on my shoulder of, I'm not going back to Sioux Falls. I'm getting out of here.
You're a Vermillionaire.
I was like, no way. I'm staying in South Dakota. And my big dreams were, I'm going to go to Kansas City.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Kansas City or Minneapolis. I'm going to go there. And then I'll come back.
No, I grew up in Columbia, Missouri. And I mean, that's where the University of Missouri is. And I never had a second thought. There was never any doubt that that's where I was going to go. But I'm like you. I knew that I wanted to get out, and I wanted to go to Kansas City or St. Louis. And so when I graduated, Kansas City. That's where I was. It's a
How
fun
long
place.
were you there?
Off and on for like 5 years. Because I'd lived there, and then I'd moved away in Chicago for a couple of years, and then I came back to Kansas City for a few more before I moved to Cedar Rapids, and then eventually up here. But yeah, I don't know. I just always had it in my head that Missouri was the best place for school.
I was like, I'm getting the heck out of here as far as I can.
Yeah, you went to Chicago.
I went to Chicago, and then I ended up back here. I ended up back here somehow. I still love it back here. But it's funny. You grow up thinking, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be here. And you come back as an adult, and you're like, this is pretty cool.
We'll be right back.
I think I definitely agree with that. And even growing up with Hartford, right outside of Sioux Falls, we came to Sioux Falls for everything. You know, both my parents worked in Sioux Falls. We came here for groceries. We came here for church.
Yep.
We came here. This is where we would play most of the sports activities, shop. So, and I think there's a correlation to that and some of the rural economic development booms that are going on too, especially in Hartford. But working at downtown Sioux Falls, the first job, not the first internship, but the first job out of college, and getting to experience this community, I remember thinking, oh, I'm glad I didn't go anywhere else because this was it was a whole new space I had never experienced in Sioux Falls outside of going to Falls Park and doing sculpture walk and the pavilion on field trips. And those are all incredible, but actually digging into downtown, it was awesome.
Speaking of downtown Sioux Falls, we had your former boss on the show.
Yes.
He said you were quite the instigator. care to share any
absolutely
any stories from that tenure?
Any office jokes or pranks?
The connection too with DTSF is that I love this story, but you know, when I was a junior in high school, we all had to do a job shadow. And so we had a great job shadow program through our junior English teacher. Shout out Mrs. Karen Renner. And she set up an internship with this place called DTSF with Brian Manor. And so I first got connected to them as a junior in high school. And I remember loving it. And I still remember this point where Brian and I were talking and she talked about, oh, you're going to have to find a mentor. And I had this little moment of like, can you be my mentor? Is that crazy? And she was. And so we just stayed connected and I would come and meet her for coffee. And I actually had her come down to Vermilion and speak on a panel one time. And she talked about this internship they had at DTSF, and I did that one summer, and that's where I got hooked. Boom. Yeah. And so I think Joe remembers a story of me being like, hey, you got that internship open, or hey, you got that job open. So it was great though. And I'm very thankful for that as well.
So what year did you start at DTSF?
The summer of 2018.
2018. Okay. Because I told, like, when Joe was on, I couldn't recall. Like, I lived here since 97, 98. And I just remember the downtown area wasn't, I mean, yeah, there were the bars that you go to, but it wasn't like the big thing. Yeah, it was always the mall.
Oh, yeah.
And then somewhere there was this shift. And, of course, maybe it was when Joe started. I don't know. But there definitely was this phase in time where you could tell that there was this big shift away from the mall and more towards that downtown area. And even now, I mean, Vince and I have been working now downtown for about 2.5 years. But even now, like, I leave, walk out the front door, walk like a quarter of a block to get to our parking area, and you just feel this vibe. Yes. It's so hard to put a finger on, but it's like you smell the air, and there's just this vibe about it.
Sometimes it's Smithfield's, but
yeah, 3 days a week.
Like, is somebody making breakfast? Oh, wait a second.
That's a really nice way of putting it. Making breakfast.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of putting it some days.
I completely agree with you. There is such an energy and a vibe, and it's so cool that people feel that. whether they live downtown, work downtown, first time visiting. And we could have a whole conversation about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, it has definitely progressed. I mean, we think about the number of opportunities for the younger folk, especially, I think, to live. But even now, there's Washington Square.
Yeah.
And then, what's the landing? Is it the one closest?
Falls Landing?
Yeah, Falls. There's really an opportunity for people who are either empty nesters or just coming to college to live downtown. Yep. And I think that adds to it. And then the number of restaurants that have opened up and the shopping places that have opened up. And now with the new developments with Shrapa Place and the Sioux Steel District, and hopefully it's just going to continue where it just becomes its own little hub. And I mean, there's something really cool about that.
Oh, for sure. And I will say, I had that connection to downtown Sioux Falls, and it was just like hooking on and going on a ride because it was so much fun. And as a first job out of college, it was so perfect. It was, so grateful for it. I gave a lot of myself to that job, and DTSF gave a lot to me, but it was awesome.
Marriage made in heaven.
Yeah. But even the growth in the 4 years I was there, incredible.
Yeah.
Arc of Dreams, Cascade Building, Phillips Loft. Yeah, it was great. Jones Building, State Theater opening up.
Yep.
Jones Building.
So now today you're at
yes.
SDCEO. So for people who don't know, what is that exactly? What do you do?
So I started a new position outside of DTSF with a newer nonprofit, but SDCO East Women's Business Center is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are partially funded through a grant program through the federal Small Business Administration. But really our mission and why I get out of bed every day is we empower women and propel economic development across the state. And it has been truly an honor. I've gotten my butt kicked multiple times, just, learning and growing and being challenged. But that's where the good stuff happens. That's where the good growth happens. And so we do that mission, but we've been open since about August 2021, but had our first full year of operation this last year. So cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Woo.
We gotta click by the microphone.
And our two main functions that we accomplish our mission by is one, free and confidential advising. So just talking to people who might want to open a business or might be having, some challenges with their business. And then number two is we do workshops, events, trainings, things like that. So yeah, and we very much resonate with the people we work with because we're a little startup too.
Yeah.
So Sadie, I think you are currently our youngest guest on this podcast.
Ooh.
And also I think you're like one of the youngest executive directors in our state or city of an organization, right?
I think we're going to have to check in on that. Yeah.
But like, how do you...
Do I get an award?
Maybe you do. Hey, 30 for 30. Are you nominations next year? But are there any unique challenges you encounter, like being such a younger, in a leadership position like that? And how do you navigate that? Like, and what are some opportunities that you've had?
Sure.
Just
one question at a time, please.
Yeah. No, I would say even tying back to just confidence, because I had a mentor of mine who really put me up to this and said, hey, because I love my job at DTSF. I love that work. But she goes, you need to look at this position because this is your next step. This is your next step up. And it was a big step. And I remember thinking, like, am I too young for this, or do I not have? But it was a person who really believed in me.
Yeah.
And so was my own confidence. And I purposely do not bring up my age at all. And so even when people ask me, I sometimes
lie.
Like in a professional sense, I'll kind of joke it off a little bit.
Yep.
And that's the real honest truth.
Sure.
I try not to talk about my age because I definitely think people look at me and I'm young and I'm blonde. I also don't like blonde jokes. I never tell blonde jokes. But I'm blonde, I'm young, I'm outgoing, and I don't talk about my age, not in the sense of don't ask a woman about her age, but because of my professional position.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people will say that they don't take that into account, but subconsciously, I do believe people think about things like that. Yeah. So those are a couple things, but I have gained a lot of confidence in having one full year under my belt.
Well, you hit all your goals, right?
We hit all of our goals.
Congrats.
So we have goals like new business starts, clients served, a couple other ones.
Yeah.
We've definitely had to crawl and grind, and I kind of use the metaphor of like we are going inch by inch every day. So just to look up a little bit and say, oh man, this is how far we've made it.
And then get back
feels
into
really
it
good.
Again.
And then keep going inch by inch. But that's how you do it. And
so I heard the statistic, and I guess it's correct, but they said like 99% of businesses are small businesses, which doesn't sound right. And I think like if you take a look at the amount of businesses, because you think about the really big businesses, but that counts as one. So perhaps if you look at it just purely from the DBA or the name of the business, but there's a bunch, almost a cuss word, there's a bunch of small businesses in the United States, but to help those businesses to grow, but then to help women realize those dreams too. Because I know there's a lot of women, like growing up, my dad was the breadwinner, if you will.
Sure.
And mom stayed home, and I think she liked that. But once we were out of like high school, I think is when she started to pursue her own career, if you want to call it that. But I think it is good to live in a society where men and women both can realize their dreams and to make a go of it. And I just saw, I think it was a TikTok. It was just about a Mr. Dad, and he was totally happy hanging at home and taking care of the kids and having the wife go out and pursue her career. I think it's cool in any kind of relationship where you're able to both get after it, but to have the resources at hand to realize those dreams, because it's not easy.
Oh, for sure. And ooh, you're getting me going. All right, here we go.
Fired up.
So the SBA reflects that 43% of small business owners in South Dakota are women.
Wow.
Almost half.
That's really good.
And yeah, and I do think specifically with small businesses and that statistic you shared, some of the parameters that the SBA has for small businesses is like, do you employ under 500 people? In South Dakota, that is the case.
Yeah. My town
I
is
bet
less than
99% of the businesses.
Yeah.
500, there's a certain dollar amount that you have to come in under for your profits, and most businesses fall under that for small businesses. But 43% of small business owners in South Dakota are women, almost half. And then you think about a lot of the 50-50 percentages of husband, wife that have that business. And then, you look around a lot of these small and rural communities, and you look at what's keeping those rural communities alive. And it's that lifestyle and Main Street areas where there is a boutique, there's a cafe, there's a cool new coffee shop. Yeah. Women are opening those. Yeah. And so they're the ones that not only are creating some more of those lifestyle businesses, but also are helping engage with the community. And so it's been so fun to go visit some of these areas. We have a goal of visiting a new community on the eastern side of South Dakota once a month. So we have been to Mitchell, Watertown, Huron, Chamberlain, Pierre, Yankton, Vermilion, and it's been such a delight to not only meet with women small business owners, but women who are in the chambers, are in the economic development, who are on city council, and who are running it, and who are overall just adding to that economic development. So that's just a peek of the things I've learned in the last year with women business professionals in South Dakota. And that's what's exciting. And that's what I can't wait for with the Women's Business Center, to be connecting some of those dots, and how do we support those spaces for women.
jump the gun a little bit
Oh,
with this
Jumping
question.
the gun.
But what, like for women that are out there and they're listening to you talking about that and they have a dream, or maybe they're somewhere along that business journey, but they need help, how would they get in contact with you?
please shoot us an email, shoot me an email, or find us online. We're very active on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter,
Yes.
LinkedIn, but you can email me at sadie.swier@bhsu.edu. But please reach out to us. We do the free advising. And one other thing I don't always say a lot is it's free advising, but we're powered by taxpayers. So please come use us
Use us,
because you
or-
help pay for us.
Yeah.
I don't usually say that, but it's true.
Why not? And so we'll put those notes, or we'll put the links for Sadie and SDCO
Yes.
in the show notes.
So one way it's about time to wrap up the show, Sadie, but one
Okay.
thing we always like to do is, the theme of the show is nostalgia. So we really want to just, quick, let's look back again. And what is one lesson or quote or story or something you've got that, really shaped your life that really you still use today that propels you in what you do with your work?
One that is more wholesome and that I adore is if you're a Sioux Falls person, you probably know of the YMCA Leif Erikson day camp for kids. I would do that in the summer and absolutely loved it. And we brought back one time a golden ruler that we had painted and decorated. So the golden rule, and it was hung up in our kitchen right next to the kitchen sink, so that one of my mom's favorite things was the golden rule, which is
Treat others as you would have them treat you.
boom. Yes. And so that was something that we always lived by, and I now have that ruler hanging up in my kitchen.
See, if
so
that
it's right next to my kitchen sink.
If that ruler were hung up in my mom's kitchen, she'd take it off and smack my butt with it.
And that's a generational thing too.
So is there an unwholesome story then? 'Cause you said to keep it wholesome.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the off air or in the notes.
Vince loves to get into that dirt. Okay, I do too.
I will say,
pot calling kettle black.
I will say there was a game in high school that I would play sometimes, but I didn't really like it, and it was called Fugitive. And
Never heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And this was when we all could drive, but we would wait till it'd be pitch black in Hartford, and you'd wear all black, and you'd basically run around the town of Hartford, and you would have maybe like one or two cars with like spotlight, and you would run around, and if people found you, then you were caught. And so whoever was like the last group or the last person, I did not play it very often. I
That
didn't
sounds
like
like
it,
fun.
but that's kind of a naughty one.
That sounds like
So what did you learn from that? And how does it carry your success? in the thread
how's
now?
that?
Where's that thread? Like, where's it?
The thread.
well, I'm downtown. I'm wearing black.
Don't get caught.
Okay, God.
How about that?
Jeez. Well, and when we're off air, we'll talk about where that tattoo of Isaac's hat is.
Yeah.
Right here. Is that where it's at?
Yeah, he played a bassoon, so I'll show you where.
I know what that
It's like a
is.
super clarinet.
Oh, super.
Yes.
It's like a big clarinet.
Yeah.
Super
I'm
clarinet.
I'm generalizing band instruments. I'm sorry, band folks.
Jeez. Well, it's been fun yakking at you.
Yeah.
Yakking with
Thank
you.
you.
Should say that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. I mean, that was a fast timetable there, but
I know.
It's always fascinating talking with people, and sometimes you got to throw a lot of questions, and sometimes it just goes from one topic to the other. So these stories that's kind of what the show's all about.
That's what the show's
That's
all
how
about.
I felt today
So,
was.
Our viewers, listeners, remember the show is not just audio only, it's also on YouTube. Check us out. And for Sadie's contact information, we'll have it in the show notes below. Until next time, everybody, stay engaged, stay curious, and we'll see you on Nostalgia Street. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you're on iTunes, please take a moment and leave us a rating and review.
Head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. You'll get access to engaging visuals that complement our podcast content.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to having you with us on our next episode. So until next time, listeners, stay curious, stay engaged.
Never stop walking down Nostalgia Street.